School. I welcome you all to the panel discussion to kickstart the Business Summit 2023. The objective of this event is to augment the skill of using money and give a boost to an individual's innovation and creativity as a way to promote sustainable economic growth. With great pleasure, we'd like to welcome all our eminent panelists. To begin with, we welcome Dr. K. J. George. Sir is a PhD in the area of online retail. His area of work is customer intention to complete. At BMU, he is a part of the outreach team. He is keenly looking at opportunities as to how the university can engage with schools to enable the learning process. We'd like to welcome Ms. Sakshi Chabra. She is serving as an assistant professor at the BML Munjal University in the School of Management and Institute of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. She is an academician and has a doctorate to her credit. We extend a warm welcome to Mr. Shiv Pedani, who has emerged as a thriving entrepreneur in Bangalore. He firmly believes that building financial literacy from a young age is essential for shaping the future financial leaders of India. We extend a hearty welcome to Ms. Saloni Chabra. She is an alumni of Bluebell. She graduated school in 2017 and was the city topper in her stream. While at Bluebells, she was the head girl of our school and was involved in multiple co-curricular activities. We'd like to welcome Mr. Vivek Arya, founder and CEO of Time, his third venture, which is a generative AI startup that creates personalized illustrated storybooks for kids. We extend our welcome to Mr. Siraf Talwar, who is a director at KK Talwar Fabrics Private and a member of Entrepreneurship Cell MMIMS. We'd like to welcome Mr. Amrit Jaggi. Sir has a 17 years of experience in the domain of education, reaching out students for various upcoming and offbeat careers, and having engagement with them in multiple forms. He's currently associated with Global University System Academic, who is an academic partner for Pearl Academy. We extend our warm regards to Mr. Ashu Jay, who is working as academic counselor at INGNOU Center. He was also a part of ICT Seagull's 2023 project of Bluebell's Model School. We'd like to welcome Mr. Rochelle Dhingra. With a strong passion for business and entrepreneurship, he pursued his MBA in innovation and entrepreneurship to further enhance his knowledge and skills in this field. He has successfully launched his new brand of ice creams named Roomies. We at Bluebell's Model School are elated to have you all here. दिया कभी अपना नाम नहीं बताता, उसकी रोशनी उसका परिचय देती है। आइए हम सब अज्ञानता का अंधकार मिटाते हैं। आइए सब मिलकर भगवान का ध्यान लगाते हैं। आइए इस अवसर पर हम सब मिलकर दिया जलाते हैं। May I now have the honor of requesting our principal, Ms. Alka Singh, to welcome our panelists.
Thank you so much. Sustainable development requires human ingenuity, with people as the most important resource. With human diversity integral to basic human nature, the need is to understand that we all may not have equal talents, but we all have an equal opportunity to develop our talents and create possibilities for a sustainable growth. It is these opportunities that can shape lives, realize dreams, and thereafter create a happy world. We are indeed honored and privileged to be availing one such opportunity today, where we are amidst an empowered and dedicated audience. The topic for the panel discussion is well chosen, and the panelists for the discussion are all iconic in their areas of expertise. I warmly welcome all our panelists for the event. Thank you so much for your time and presence. As we say, the best gift one can give is time. Thus, we are honored with the gift of time. Today, I'm sure your views will bring about a paradigm shift in the thought process of the audience. Thank you once again. My warm greetings are due to our Vice Chairman, sir, Mr. Ashish Gulati. I warmly welcome our Revered Director, Dr. Saroj Suman Gulati, Director, Bluebells Group of Schools, Deputy Directors, Madam Soumya Gulati, Dr. Alka Saxena, and Madam Anshuka Neja for gracing the occasion. My warm greetings to my alumni, Shivangi and Shoranj, who are spearheading the discussion as moderators. We are very proud of both of you. Highly overwhelmed and motivated with a large number of participating schools from the NCR, as well as all over India. It's 73 schools who are participating in the Business Summit 2023. It's a proud moment for all of us. Forums like these reinforce our commitment in the maxim that hope sustains life. When like-minded people think for the global well-being, I'm sure the world will be a better place to be in, and we shall be a minuscule participant in this journey. साझेदारी बढ़ाएं, साथ मिलकर आगे बढ़ना, क्योंकि व्यापार ही विकास की आधारशिला है. बढ़ते समय के साथ चलेंगे, समुदाय की जरूरतों को पूरा करेंगे, धरती के साथ एकता बनाए रखेंगे. यही है सतता का मंत्र, यही है व्यापार की महिमा का रहस्य. So all my dear students, a message for you all. कर दिखा कुछ ऐसा कि कोई तुझसे बेहतर बनने की नहीं, तेरे जैसे बनने की सोचे. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for doing the honors. Now, I request the anchor and moderator, Mr. Vikas Sharma, faculty Bluebells Model School, to initiate the panel discussion.
Thank you, Yashi. Good evening, everyone. Bluebells Model School. Our motto is, be honest, be brave. These are the two primary requirements in a business. We at Bluebells live this right from the beginning. Our belief system and values make us strong and ready for tomorrow. Our students have proven this mettle in many fields and have turned out to be well-equipped citizens who are prepared to face the future. We've also been contributing and leading from the front in various fields where the society and time has called for our role. Following a culture of proactiveness and readiness, here is another initiative, Business Summit 2023, a fusion of commerce and humanities. And this is being done in collaboration with Kshetra and Udbhav, the two inter-school commerce and humanities fests. I believe commerce and humanities are inseparable, as they are with and for each other. We incredibly realize the importance of business in today's era. And through this summit, we want to address this very vital topic, business as it should be. Our country is at a very defining juncture. We need job givers, job creators, entrepreneurs. Here, Bluebells Model School is providing a platform that would give us all an opportunity to think about how the business world should look like. What is happening around in the business world? What can be the corrective actions? What can be done to make things better? How can ideas be transformed? For every business was an idea once. Sometimes it's just one question which just brings the change. Let's be a part of this great initiative, Business Summit 2023, through a very lively and interesting panel discussion on role of businesses in promoting sustainability and environmental responsibility. Well, we sure have a lot of interesting questions for our esteemed panelists. For the information of the panelists, for each question, you'll be given 2 to 3 minutes, and thereafter, a minute or so for the closing statement. My co-moderators for the session would be Sauransh Bhardwaj and Shivangi Sharma. They both are very talented and are alumnus of the Bluebills Model School. Sauransh is an entrepreneur and currently building Vidyaverse, a metaverse-based edtech. And Shivangi is currently an analyst with Sattva Consulting. She has worked with Niti Aayog as well. Shivangi, I request you to kindly start with the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a very great start to the business summit that Bluebills Model School is initiating on. I think, as Vikas sir said, commerce and humanities are subjects that are sort of inseparable in this world today, right? So, good evening, everyone. I would first like to introduce myself to the panel. I am Shivangi Sharma, and I'm currently working with Sattva Consulting as an analyst in the agriculture practice area of Sattva Knowledge Institute. Through this discussion today, we're going to be talking about how private players, micro, small, and medium industries, businesses, entrepreneurs, and academicians think about the idea of sustainability and bringing it into action. Is it just investment in climate smart activities, or is it also related to increasing women labor force participation rate in these businesses, right? We'll also be talking about how supply chains across the business industry are expanding and evolving while having a severe effect on the 3 Ps, which are people, planet, and profits. I think starting with the discussion, I would like to talk to Saloni Chavra, who has been a senior at Bluebills Model School. She has also been a business student at one of the most premier institute of Delhi University, which is the Sri Ram College of Commerce. Saloni, what do you think about the idea of sustainability? And what are the factors to set the discussion forward and take it forward? What do you think are the factors that lead to sustainability in business?
Right. Thank you, Shivangi. Thank you for your question. And I'm really glad to be here to be sharing stage with such esteemed panel members. Right. So as far as your question is concerned, with respect to sustainability and what it involves and how businesses can further sustainability in our world, further the factors that lead to sustainability, right? I think Principal Ma'am in one line summarized the need for sustainability, need for business involvement in sustainability when she said that Vyapar is at the core of Vikas. So if you look at Vikas or development as a whole, businesses are crucial. And now when India as a country is fast developing and we see huge convergence between development and we're not in permit license quota raj where everything has to be directed by the government. We're in a more open society where businesses are fast taking the lead. And when that is happening, you cannot divorce businesses' involvement in development process. And once that happens, we realize that sustainability is crucial, right? So what I'm going to talk about rather than the need for sustainability is the urgency for sustainability, right? Let's look at what's happening. Let's not go very far. Let's look at what's happening in our neighboring cities, what's happening in Delhi, what's happening in Noida, what's happening in Himachal, what's happening in Uttarakhand. So neighboring cities and states, our cities are flooding. Like, of course, there are natural factors, but what are the aggravating factors? Certain businesses thought of concretizing every bit of land that they could find fallow, that they could find vacant. And once we do that concretization, there is no way that we can absorb water that is flooding. There is no way that we can actually make any space for nature to deviate slightly from what we've defined to be the normal, right? So we see the need for sustainability through these things. And sustainability is an all-encompassing term. It's not just limited to climate action. If you look at sustainable development goals, there are 17 SDGs and they range from like zero hunger to zero poverty to peace, justice, having institutions that can be inclusive in nature, and of course, having sustainable climate practices, which is of course at the core of it, because we don't have control over nature, and once we lose grip over climate, we lose grasp over every other goal that we've set for ourselves. Like female empowerment, for instance, is not possible if we don't have climate actions on track. So I think all of that is very intricately interlinked. As far as the factors that concern sustainability are concerned, I think broadly there are three factors. Firstly would be innovation. I think innovation is key. You cannot do without innovating in this world. For instance, I'll take an example to substantiate my point. Those of us who are from Gurgaon have heard of IFCO Tower, IFCO Chowk, and that's where there's this IFCO Tower that's located, and that's named after this organization IFCO. It's a cooperative organization, and it's doing a terrific job at innovating. Despite being a cooperative organization, they innovated two nano fertilizers. One is nano DAP and one is nano urea. Now, what that's likely to do is that it's likely to reduce our forex burden, and it's likely to help the soil health, right? So innovation is at the core of sustainability in businesses. Second, I believe, is government policies. In India itself, we have policies like PLI scheme for solar PV cells, or we have the FAME scheme for electric vehicles. So there are all of these schemes, and world over, in fact, Europe is debating introducing CBAM, etc. Of course, that's a debatable issue, but government policies are the second factor that's key. And third factor is how as consumers we're changing our demand. What is the demand management going to be like? If we continue demanding things that are polluting in nature, if we continue to not change our practices, then it's slightly more difficult. And as consumers, we also need to be more aware of companies greenwashing their products, companies branding certain products as green when they're actually not green. Like when we go to fast fashion brands, we see labels like XYZ conscious or this and that. Now, to what extent are those actually sustainable products? Are they doing it just to cater to a certain market that's wanting more sustainable products, or are they actually making an effort? I mean, do you claim that that particular t-shirt hasn't led to wastage of thousands of liters of water, or what has gone into it? There is lack of transparency. There are so many greenwashing scandals, like Volkswagen greenwashing scandals, etc. So of course there's a need to be aware. There's a need to aware as consumers. And yes, as you rightly pointed out, businesses should move towards a triple bottom line approach: people, planet, profit, the three P's that Shivangi pointed out. So I think, yeah, broadly that's my idea of sustainability in businesses.
Thank you so much, Saloni, for throwing some light upon different factors. And apart from that, my takeaway from this particular conversation is your point that giving importance to the urgency to sustainability instead of rather than just discussing that we have to work on this. I think that is really, really important. And thank you so much for setting up the context for the discussion ahead. I would now like to ask question from Mr. Shiv, being a fintech founder, being a founder of Streetcard, which is a neobank exclusively designed for children in India. I would like to ask you, sir, what is the role of development financial institutions, venture capitalists, or social impact funders to help build sustainability in businesses? And what are the challenges that a neo business like yours faces in gaining access to funding through these specific institutions?
Sure, Saranj. Thank you so much for the question. And your question is divided in two parts. The first part, which is to understand what are the things that the venture capitalists and the social funders, what are the responsibilities in basically impacting a social and sustainable impact to the environment. To answer that question, I'm going to first explain to you how the venture capital industry, at least for India, works in my understanding. So as far as my experience goes, there are two ways to look at it. There's a first level of funding which happens at the stage of a seed, which is the first influx of fund that comes into a company. Then what happens is the company goes through a plethora of innovations, growth, it goes through its journey, and then comes in the private equity and the bigger institutions with the bigger checks and the bigger funds. So the role of these institutions changes dramatically over the course of this journey. And honestly, when we talk about venture capitalists as a space, their goal in sustainability might not be the same as what it means to a private equity player. And the form in which this word is understood, sustainability changes too. So the sustainability to a venture capital firm could possibly mean something like positive unit economics. That's a sustainable business, right? Whereas to a private equity player, when they're trying to explain and expand businesses through sustainable operations, it possibly means doing things from an ESG point of view, which is environment, social, and governmental point of view. So it changes, is what I'm trying to explain. In my journey, as far as I'm concerned, we are somewhere at the beginning of the journey. We have recently, completed our Y Combinator cohort in winter 22, and we raised our funds from there. They do invest in environmental and sustainable businesses. So if you're asking me what is their role, it is to definitely focus on that side of businesses as well, that have sustainability built into the business models, and give back in some form. And what are the kind of challenges that we go through to raise funds from these kind of institutions? There are. I'll tell you my journey. So we raised an angel round back in 2021, and then we raised our funds in 2022 from Y Combinator. So there's a bunch of challenges that we go through. We need to explain how we're going to make the business a success. What are the things we will focus on, and sustainability to us means something slightly that's a little different from sustainability, from what it could mean to let's say a real estate company, or a Coca-Cola, for example. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'd be happy to hear other people's thoughts. Thank you so much, Saransh.
Great, Shiv. I think that gives a bit of a direction to understanding what are the kinds of challenges that a new business faces while going through sustainability models. It also makes us understand seed funding capital and private equity capital while we are evaluating sustainability in business. And I think to direct the discussion forward, I would want to ask and go to Sakshi now. I think, Sakshi, you can guide us a little bit or make us understand how does government see sustainability, right? Because we have the G20 presidency of India coming in, and it has been dominating at a global level. How do you think government is pushing towards sustainability models for such businesses such as Shiv's, right? How do we see neo businesses coming in terms of sustainability from the government's end?
Thanks, Shivangi. I would like to start with what is the basic agenda of G20 when it comes to looking forward for MSMEs or any business in a broader picture. So the government of India is looking into the lines of first inclusivity, where we talk about inclusive of all the genders in the businesses. Second, they're looking forward into the lines of collaboration, which really helps when it comes to businesses. And third is definitely innovation. This is the primary core. So if we talk about the hard pushes made by the government in this G20 summit, they are trying to come up with something called Startup 20, where the 20 countries are going to come up, engaging them into only in the entrepreneurial issues, and, coming up with, policies or new programs that can be enhanced, is something that, Indian government has come up with the idea with the 20 countries. Let's have, something called Startup 20, which could be really helpful, and set aside G20 from focusing only on the startup agendas. Coming to the hard pushes done by the government and they are planning to do in G20, I believe that very first thing they are doing is a global visibility, giving startups a chances to, go for the exhibitions on the cities that are being hosted. Second, I'll talk about giving them a chance for, networking that will really help them, collaborating with the foreign investors. Third is definitely, I would like to talk about, as I said, collaboration and capacity building. Coming to the soft pushes, yes, we need skills, training. So how are we going to get that? So, and if we talk about soft pushes at the school level, I think Business Summit is one of the things that I never heard when I was a kid in the school level, to be very honest. Shiv and I can agree on this note that, he being an IT and I am from BITS Pilani, we, being engaged in that environment where we learn, how to go about with starters. So I would like to take a very small example. So Beko is a company which is very closer to my heart, and it is started by BITS Pilani 3 trials. So, being an engineer, how we can inculcate that, at the soft level, at the institute level. So now they are going through an activity of just cleaning the beach in Mumbai. And they thought, that give them an empathy, why not doing something for the environment and coming up with a product like Beko. So I think these are the thing, that captures, the students to look forward that business is not about, just profitability. Profitability anyways comes. So what are we giving back to the community? Even if it's 1% or coming up with an idea that can sustain in the coming years is what we are giving. So Beko is one example that come to my mind, and also Fool.co, where you will be amazed to see, how women are, using the dried flowers and coming up with beautiful scented, agarbattis for your house. It's a very great idea. And, we all, every day being in Hinduism, we have a habit of putting flowers to the god, and by evening it get wasted. So they are using that waste and coming up, to save environment. So these are my takeaways on G20 presidency, and hope to see, the government of India with the help of Narendra Modi, the Startup 20 starts, and a lot of policy advocacy at the root level, which is really benefiting them, and not engaging the startups to go through a lot of documentation processes, and make it easier for them is the way forward, according to my thought. Thank you, Shivangi.
That was really wonderful, Sakshi. Really good to know that government is doing its bit. And here I have an open question. It's such a wonderful beginning to this beautiful session where we are getting to know a lot, which should reach the new generation. In the times of too much information, which we already know we are living in, and competition, what is the way of keeping away and concentrating the business path on sustainability? Because there's a lot of things happening. We may get allured here and there. And what could be a message to the students who are willing to be future leaders and entrepreneurs? Where you already mentioned about profitability, but then again, it's very difficult to move away from that. And sustainability, it's something which is just there, but not there actually. So, anyone, if you could put a thought on that.
I would like to add one thing, because if we can broaden the mindset shift, at the early stage, which is school level, where there's a cognitive development happens for the kids, and, engaging them in the activities where they feel empathetic about, I will not say we can probably see a shift in 100% of the students. Even if we get 1% of the crowd looking forward to, in those lines, we can actually see entrepreneurs at the age of 8 or 10, like India is now having. So I believe that could be the one smallest change could be done from school to engineering to whatever field the student takes. And this is my observation, moving from profitability to sustainability. It's a mindset change required at the education level, being academicians, all of us. And of course, when we give that base to the kids, they can definitely look forward to those lines.
Absolutely. So we'll have to start right at the beginning where it comes out. It's really important. Thank you, Sakshi. Those good thoughts.
Just to add on there, Mr. Sharma, to add on to what Sakshi mentioned, I am seeing that, you started this conference by saying that commerce and humanities go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
And I belong to an era where taking arts was like you were the least important person in the world, right? Because there was no way that you thought that someone who's taken history or English could be anywhere near business. But today, in the area of interdisciplinary learning, we say that psychology is the most important thing for business, because if an engineer does not know why the interface is not liked by the customer, it's the end of the story. And same way, I like the way the schools are changing. My younger one is in class 6, and right from class 2nd, they were talking about design thinking, and the empathy is the best part there. Maybe it can go in line with sustainability. Sustainable goals, again, what Saloni was talking about. First time I heard about it was when my son started, telling me about it. So there, the school is doing a fantastic job. I somehow feel that the kind of work which good schools, or I would say, I would not like to brand schools, which schools are doing for design thinking and using empathy and using sustainable goals and giving tasks to kids, like in the area of education, what can be done that kids far-flung where there's no electricity or internet can study. So I think these are things which I think in a small way, as Sakshi said, may not be making a fantastic difference, but could be that 5%, 10% difference that, 1,000 of kids, when they grow up, maybe 10 of them will think about businesses which can look at making, for loss of other word, making the planet a better world to stay. Maybe
Exactly.
that could happen.
It's like sowing seeds and we are waiting for the results to come up. That's a noble thought. What do you say, Shivangi, there?
Because sir, I think, and building on George sir's point as well, I was a student, coming from my experiences, I was a student in humanities while I was studying political science, public policy, and development studies. I think there also was such a blend of and wherever I am in business today, there is such a blend of all of these values that I learned through the humanities subjects, that it became extremely important for me to do a blend of economics, psychology, while I'm also learning behavioral economics every single day, right? So I think
there's a lot of re-imaging of things. I mean, like we need to take off the older images of things and break out the cliches and then give them a new vision to that. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think learn, relearn.
Absolutely.
Like the R's,
the process goes on.
Use and all those things in sustainability. I think learn and relearn is the buzz, I presume.
Definitely, sir.
Yes, sir.
And the next question is also sort of directed to you, because I think online retail is something that you have an expertise in. I really wanted to understand that what are some of the new innovations that you have seen coming across these businesses in packaging and reducing waste that is generated through transportation of online retail products. So what are some of the new innovations in packaging in the online retail business that you see? But also secondly, I want to ask you something related to customer demands that have further led to propagation of sustainability goals in online retail packaging. How do you think customer demands have shifted from starting from your day and age to now, and how are customers talking about sustainability today, and how is that impacting business at a larger level? So those are two questions that I wanted to pose to you.
Okay, to start off, I would like to go back to what Saloni said when she was talking about the concretization, and she said that okay, natural causes are there, and she was very kind to, I think, maybe my generation, who is responsible for all these concretization. I would say that in my time also, my time पे भी स्कूल में बारिश होती थी, लेकिन स्कूल कभी बंद नहीं होता. आज I tell my son that you are really, really cool that it rains for 2 days and then school is closed for 4 days. We used to love to jump around that puddle because it was just a puddle, right? So is it natural causes? I would like to differ. I think the cause is very much there in the human side of it. I still remember when there used to be a bus which revolves around the outer ring road, and when it used to cross Red Fort, शायद एक छोटी सी एक यमुना की नहर वहां दिखती थी. वो नाला हो गया था मेरे टाइम पे, जब मैं शायद 15-16 साल का था, when I used to go to DU for the first time, or 17 maybe, but it was there, but now it is not there. And there's a saying that क्या कहते हैं कि नदी अपना रास्ता भूलेगी नहीं, वो वापस आएगी. And that's exactly what is happening. Right? So I think thanks, Saloni, for not blaming it on us. That was good. And what Principal Ma'am said, Vikas.
Yes, sir.
I think Vikas के नाम पे हम कुछ भी करते हैं ना, तो वो एक star समझते हैं हम. And that's the biggest problem with sustainability, I presume. Right? That is where I think the thought for sustainability should begin. Progress can't be on the deathbed of how a human being should live around the, his or her atmosphere. So that's my 2 pennies for that. Now, coming back to your question about online retail, I think retail was always very close to my heart. And the first thing I remember about retail was as maybe a 6-year-old going to a government retail store called Super Bazaar. It used to be in Connaught Place, a 5-story retail store. And maybe subconsciously, that's the kind of interest. Then came the Kendriya Bandar, and from there came the big bazaars and everything. And 2004 was maybe the first time we heard about online retail, Flipkart, books. I could never imagine going online to buy something, could never have the trust for it. Now, trust is maybe one of the main reasons why India generates, I was reading on a research, because I knew I was talking about this, about 8.5 lakh kg of plastic material per individual in a year. That's the consumption. And reason being, online retailers are kind of scared that what if the customer gets the product which is broken, which is not in the condition which he would like. That would lead to maybe not having loyalty, which could lead to not having repurchase, which could lead to lack of profitability. So I think packaging has an importance in e-commerce, especially in products which could be damaged in transit, or which could be, if it was not carried out properly, the hygiene of the product could go down. That was the product where I think packaging became very important. And we love to be aesthetic, right? We love to carry that. Earlier there used to be that shopper stop bag, जो प्लास्टिक का होता था, और या बॉम्बे डाइंग का बैग होता था. हम दुकानदार को बोलते थे कि मेरी मम्मी बोलती थी, I'm talking about my mom here. She's about close to 80. कि 2 बैग extra दे देंगे. And that one bag, my father used to use for 1 year for his tiffin. Almost 1 year, right? So that's where the importance of the packaging was there. Now, going forward, what happened was, the pack, there was, so sometimes you had to fight with that product which came in, use a knife, use a blade, and there were at least 7 layers of packaging for a very small product, of just for that fear that it may break up. Now, there's a lot of discussions happening about, how much waste is being generated, is it looking like, and then you ask me how organizations and individuals are working towards it. I would just like to mention, I know there's a paucity of time, that, today organizations are looking at, can a packaging which was done once be sent back to them for a repackage? Can a customer be paid extra penny because he ensured that the packages came back? That's one. Cashback is something which everybody is looking at. Other things which people are looking at is that, can a package be biodegradable? Can a package be made out of plants? Can the packaging material which comes to you be made with, I think mushroom waste is something which they were talking about, or corn waste, which is talking about. Can the packaging of a food item be edible itself, right? So these are the things where people are looking at, and how things can be moved in the e-commerce sector.
Yeah.
Coming to the next part of the question, how a individual is responding to it. I could not find much study in India, but there was a McKinsey study done in the US, and about 50% of the online customers are saying that they are ready to, do something or the other to ensure that this packaging is not there. And their concern is less on the fact of environment, in the sense pure environment, and more for the fact of fashion. Number one, fashion was, it's very fashionable to talk for certain things. So that was one point which came in. Second thing was, a lot of these waste going into the ocean. That was also a kind of thought process which was there. But to be very honest, still people are more bothered about the price, the quality, and the other parameters of the product. And so social changes or environment, this comes in the rank of 7th or 8th in the customer's mind. So we got a long way to go. I think a lot of companies, and Shopper Stop was one of the first to stop using plastic bags. They came with that paper bags. And now I think the very fact that retailers have made it chargeable. Initially the customer had an aversion to pay for the bag. मैं क्यों 10 रुपए pay करूं? मैं क्यों 20 रुपए pay करूं? Free में दो. But I think the very fact that now I look back, I feel that free में नहीं देना एक बहुत अच्छी बात थी, कि कस्टमर ने लेना छोड़. और आप लेकिन अभी भी आप सब्जी लेने जाएंगे तो आपको पॉलिथीन तो मिलती ही मिलती है. And every e-commerce product comes with a polythene.
सभी को आता है सर, एक एक्स्ट्रा पैकेट का एक्स्ट्रा, बट ये इतनी बड़ी हिस्ट्री है इसके पीछे, ये जानना बड़ा अच्छा लगा कितना थॉट प्रोसेस जाता है इसके पीछे भी. और ये डायरेक्टली इट अफेक्ट्स एवरीवन. आई मीन लाइक हमको कुछ और बड़ा ना करना हो, लेकिन वी बाय थिंग्स एंड वी लव थिंग्स टू बी वेल पैकेज्ड, ऐसा वैसा पूरा रख के, एंड देन वी जस्ट थ्रो इट अवे. आई मीन लाइक देयर इज लॉट ऑफ थिंग व्हिच हैपेंस. इट्स रियली गुड टू नो व्हाट हैपेंस एट द बैक एंड. Saransh, what do you have to say on that?
I think I really like that point of sir, that we are developing in the name of sustainability without even caring about it. So I really love that point, and I think
really
when
like
it comes
sir
to
mentioning that it's fashionable, which I truly second. I mean, like it is fashionable to speak about certain things, which is brilliant. I mean, like, I couldn't think of it. Yeah, it's again that culture.
कहीं ना कहीं फायदा भी है. शर्मा सर, आप देखिए जयपुर रग्स,
जी जी,
a very very sustainable business which helps women weavers. पहले लोग उससे लेते थे क्योंकि फैशनेबल था जयपुर रग से लेना है, लेकिन एंड ऑफ द डे कहीं ना कहीं वो वुमेन वीवर्स को फायदा भी तो हुआ.
जी जी
तो
जी जी,
अच्छा है, लोग फैशन करें, बेहतरीन है. कहीं ना कहीं अगर फायदा हो रहा है तो.
I think, sir, very similar to what your point is also Sirav on the panel. So, Ranch, if you could.
I guess Amrit sir wishes to say something. Amrit sir, in case you want to put across your thought.
Yeah. So what sir said regarding packaging and how customers' behavior of एक polythene extra दे देना, I could really relate to my old days. So I think one important.
सबके साथ हुआ है.
One thing which is very important to understand here is we need to reduce, reuse, and recycle, and also upcycle things, which is the new thing taught to toddlers in school today. So my daughter is 4 and she goes to school, and she came up last week and said, Papa, we need to reuse and recycle things. So again, that's something which is need of the hour to teach them and also learn from them. So that's something which is very important.
Right, sir. So, continuing with that point of mine, when it comes to packaging, I really think of Apple as, as inspiration. They are really working into the consumer experience when it comes to opening that particular box of a MacBook or an iPhone. But yes, what I think and agree to sir's point is that these big consumer facing brands, should work further into how these experiences can be improved while taking care of, whether are they even sustainable, or is it just that we are blindly following it? And as sir also talked about trust, now I pose my question to Mr. Sirav about what are the challenges that an entrepreneur in the home decor sector faces, as Mr. Sirav is a 4th generation home furnishings entrepreneur, and how can your sector convey the benefits of organic sourcing and sustainability to the consumers?
Hi, thank you for having me here. See, 4th generation home decor entrepreneur is something I did say, and I'll speak something about that. So my company, my firm has been there for 50 years. Of course, I haven't been there for 50 years yet. And, I've been with the firm for the last 8 years. And so in the last 3 years, I've seen one small change within my company, which is a family-owned firm, that, as in my grandfather's words, we've added another stakeholder rather than just the customer, the supplier, maybe the transporter in between, but we've added, as he says, the planet Earth. He is a good visionary about that, and that is something that I'll speak to you about. As sir before me spoke so much about online, I've been all about offline. That is one of the reasons you might find it funny that I had to ask the panel how to apply the thing behind me on Zoom, because I've been offline all throughout, even during COVID. And, sustainability for home decor is very, very important, because we can't shy away from the fact that home decor, maybe furniture, or the chemicals used. We've used up a lot of wood, a lot of trees. So there is something within our industry. There is a form of there's a form of thinking that we need to give back. We need to ensure that whatever we have used in to create homes, to create spaces, as I call them, we need to give it back as well. And so sustainability has been there for the past 3 years in my firm. I have experienced that with a lot of customers who come to my showrooms, who directly interact with me as well. I've had this discussion with one of your panel members as well. See, in my as we just spoke about challenges, I'll speak about that. See, challenges could come from raw material pricing, from shipping routes that have stopped from dynamic weather conditions, a lot of things. But the main challenge that I faced during when I launched sustainability, and that was something I had to convey to 2 generations in my family, and I must tell you, it's more difficult to convey something to your family member than to your boss, to start a new line then, because even at home you're accountable for that. It's not just about in the office. So the challenge that I faced was awareness. So we created a new section of home decor, of sustainable home decor, of towels, of bed linens, of other things. I'll not go into the detail of that, but something that came with a tag that you're saving the planet. We went, as sir said, with packaging. It's somehow related to the packaging, but we went with something like that, where we would give a different form of package, a cloth package that would say, I just saved the earth. You could just buy a towel, or you could buy hundreds of meters of fabric. It doesn't matter. The funny thing is, a lot of people bought the cheapest thing from me just for that packet. Wanted to carry it to the school, to make conferences or things like that. But it's fine.
We are sentimental about it. Packaging हमारे लिए बहुत important है. वो थैला बहुत जरूरी है हमारे लिए.
Exactly.
टिफिन लेके जाना है उसमें.
बिल्कुल लेके जाना. It's like the blue tick. We want that. We need that. If people are carrying it, we need that. So and I've heard everything. Being there in the showroom all the time. I'm still in the showroom right now, as I don't have an off on any day of the week. So being there in the showroom, I've heard everything. This is to and I'm very happy that this discussion is both in Hindi and English, so that I can convey my point very clearly. Because when I deal with customers, I deal in Hindi, English, and Punjabi. So I don't need to translate that in my mind. It loses that sentiment. बहुत महंगा है. कौन क्या करना है बचा के? Things like that. So and other things. So somehow they believe that it is expensive. So that is one of the main reasons that people don't want to go for a sustainable home decor product, because they believe that it is somehow expensive. It's just in their mind that this is an expensive product. And then another thing that comes out to directly is it really eco-friendly, or have you just increased the price and said it's eco-friendly? But I tell them, and I tell them to the good customers that I have who like to interact with me, that the planet Earth is not going to stop for us to learn, to get aware. When are we going to learn? It's not that we can just put a pause button on the forest depletion and say, okay, pehle hum sab samajh lete hain, and then you can start again with the depletion, with the climate change and things like that. That is never going to happen. Being in home decor, I realized that we are either at home or at our workplace or anywhere. We are in the midst of a space. So we are inhaling chemicals, we are inhaling fumes, we are sitting on products that could have a lot of wrong chemicals. We don't have to be a chemistry major to know that there are some products we don't want our skin on. We sleep on sofas, we sleep on bed covers, on pillow covers, on things like that, without even realizing the effect they have on us. But then again, we would spend thousands and thousands on gyms and yoga classes and meditations and all for the well-being. It's good. I have nothing against them, of course. But what if we could do the same with the spaces that we live in? The sustainability part of home decor for me is that it's not just about the health of the planet. I know we as a panel sitting together, and a lot of people listening to us would probably care about the planet, but I can tell you a lot of people won't. They'll care about their own health more than the planet, and that's fine. If caring about their own health helps the planet, it's a win-win. It doesn't matter. It can work both ways. Then again, the another challenge that I faced in home decor was that you get this in your mind. It's an eco-friendly product. It's plain, it's monotonous, it's beige, it's browns, it's black, it's dull, things like that. That's not true anymore. I mean, we get more designs in sustainable than anything else. Then the other thing that I found very well about sustainability, and it pertains to my country, it pertains to our country, is that we come from a very diverse we come from very diverse backgrounds. We have diverse designs. We have the jugaad factor. We have a lot of resources. And another thing about sustainability that a lot of people don't realize now is that sustainability does not only mean that you go out and buy a new product. It could mean recycling your existing product as well. It could mean reusing your grandparents' bed for the wood. It could be reusing your kitchen flooring. It could be reusing anything. That gives a very emotional, a very sentimental factor to sustainability as well. And I believe that once we, as a business, as an industry, realize that the benefits far outweigh the cost, and it's not just about the cost. It's very important for us through architects, through interior designers, like I try to do. I try to convey to them that because you are directly inside the customer's home, you can convey to them that this is not expensive anymore. This is very happy. This is very friendly. You do not need a house that is copy pasted from a magazine. You can have your own uniqueness to your house.
Absolutely, Sirap, this is really, like touching each and every one of us. Like this side wasn't known to us. Like when I'm hearing it from you, it's like, yes, that's a version of the story. Yes. So what I can make out is there's a lack of education, which is, like,
awareness. People, they come with a mindset to my showroom. They come, okay, this is expensive, or this is plain, and another thing, this won't last, which is an ironic thing for sustainability.
Buyer behavior, absolutely, which is there. I truly agree on those points. What do you say, Shivangi, on that?
I think, Sirav, I could gain a lot of insights into what consumer behavior looks like in the market today, right? I think it doesn't just mean higher prices for sustainability, but it also means what a consumer is trying to reflect in the market, and also changing the supply and demand forces of the market, right? So I think that's something that needs to be studied and better talked about in this particular idea of sustainability. Moving on, I think Rushil has been...
Sharma, if you could just give me 30 seconds.
Yes.
I just would like to mention something to the August audience here, that if you look at a difference between Blinkit and Big Basket. Now, Big Basket, when it delivers things to you, they don't give you a small packet, even if you are buying two merchandise. They will open their bag and leave it at your doorsteps.
Yes.
But Blinkit looks at how they can kind of appease the customer. So they'll have a beautiful bag with it. It's paper, but still paper is not sustainable, right? It is like saying that electricity is sustainable. Electric cars are not sustainable.
Yeah.
Now look at how much of batteries we're going to use in the next 40 years. So this is one example where companies who think maybe it's for their profit also, वो पैकेजिंग में पैसा खर्च नहीं कर रहे बिग बास्केट, शायद ब्लिंकिट भी वही कर सकता है, लेकिन उनको कंपटीशन स्विगी से है, या उबर ईट से है, तो वहां वो trying to differentiate to the customer. Yeah, thanks.
The best part about this conversation is it happens with all of us. The examples which are being made here, we all can relate to them so much. It's like अपनी जिंदगी के बारे में सुन रहे हैं हम, कि रोज तो होता है. That's really amazing.
That's truly true, Vikasar. I think what happens with Blinkit is that it gives us Diwali different package and Valentine's Day different package. So it makes us be there for the market, right? I think directing packaging to Rushil now, since he also recently started his business, and he's also been an MBA graduate. I think it's very important to understand how he is dealing with packaging and how is he maintaining sustainable packaging through the ice cream industry. And Rumi's is something that Rushil is picking up through customizable ice cream flavors that he is introducing in the market. I would like the floor to go to you, Rushil, and please talk to us a little bit about sustainable packaging models in the industry.
Thanks, Shivangi. Thanks everyone for having me. As George sir said, that the customer needs the product in its actual form. He doesn't mind what packaging you offer. So we started with poly bags only because it was cheap, and for ice cream it is the best product. And if we want to change to a certain packaging, we need to change to sustainable environment. It should have a perfect substitute for plastic. And what alternatives we had was woven bags, cloth bags. And for ice cream, it lets air it lets air inside, which melts the ice cream. For woven bags are not the way to go. Then we incorporated paper bags. And when we put ice cream in that, it condenses and leaves water droplets, and it gets torn. So now what we are using is bags made up of starch. It is quite an old concept, but now recently it is picking up the pace. The starch bags are basically fully biodegradable and compostable bags. It is a bit expensive than plastic, but it is a perfect solution and the perfect alternative. It has exact same properties as plastic does. The only drawback to it is compostable. So we cannot keep it for like 2 years in a warehouse. If we keep that, it won't be in the same condition as it would be new. So that is where people need to look. And moreover, what innovation I did in my business was we give thermocol boxes to the customers for procuring ice creams. If you need, suppose 1 kg of ice cream, so we give you a small pack of thermocol box. It cost us a certain rupees. So for the environment, what we did was we charge a security deposit from the customer for that thermocol box. And when he returns it, we give that money back. So in this case, a thermocol box could be used by hundreds of our customers. A single box could be used, and it also helps us to retain our customers back.
But fantastic idea, the starch thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was talking about the McKinsey research, which they have done, McKinsey and Co. And they're talking about exactly this, you know, how composite and plant and food items can be used for packaging. I think
yes, sir. And my friend, my peer, I met him in my master's in business administration, innovation and entrepreneurship, which I did from Symbiosis Pune. He started his business of starch polybags. And the basic difference is if you boil that polybag made up of starch, it would totally dissolve in water. It would not leave an impact on the environment. So it is a way to check if the seller is selling you actual starch polybag or a plastic polybag.
That thing has to be kept in mind. I mean, like, these are such brilliant ideas. I mean, like, how did you get the idea?
And Sharmaji also shows that, you know, 2 MBA friends, 2 different business helping each other.
Yes, sir.
ये दोस्ती हम निभाएंगे.
दोस्ती हम निभाएंगे.
MBA is more about peer learning.
Yes,
so coming from the ice creams, which melt very quickly, it's just another open question.
Yes, sir.
In times where we want everything very quickly, and we are talking of sustainability, which is a long process, do shortcuts work?
I can take a part of it. I mean, I've been listening to various panel members right here, and I think the journey towards sustainability is a difficult one. Like Rushil mentioned that they're using starch bags, but he also added that statement with a but. He said, but they're expensive. So of course, those are conscious choices that traditional businesses are making. So it's not a shortcut. There's no shortcut to sustainability, but once we're on the path to sustainability, it becomes all the more easier. So as of now, you have to continuously innovate. You have to make a conscious effort to change your path. But once you're on that path and once you've made significant process, then it becomes considerably automated. Some things that were difficult 20 years ago are easier now. So at this point, it's a difficult choice. And like George sir also mentioned about if whether or not consumers can return certain packaging back to their manufacturers or sellers. I mean, of course, that is a difficult choice that consumers will be making. If I have a packaging, I would say, yeah, let it be. I'll just throw it in the dustbin. Why should I go for it? So so the shortcut would be to throw it in the dustbin, but the long journey would be to give it back to the manufacturer. So in e-waste, in fact,
in that case, that box which he mentioned is workable. That idea, the box which is giving to the customers, Rushil. That's something which is very innovative. I could really find it nice.
I think there's no shortcuts, but जुगाड़ काम आएगा.
जुगाड़ तो देश पूरा हमारा
देश चल रहा है. You know, अगर
Sure, sir. And
Yeah,
Vikas, sir, I believe that it's more of a, habits, we are learning from our grandparents. Our grandparents are usually having a, habit of, even if I remember my grandmother using the milk pouch once, using that milk, and she's using it to put, the dustbins and all those kachras that we put in, putting it in that and then reusing that. We generally have a habit of just, okay, it's a pouch. We have used it, now dump it. But from our grandparents, if we make this as a habit, which is coming, is also could be imbibing into the mindset change which I was talking about earlier.
So
Could be
is
one
it,
move of making it a habit.
is it
Absolutely.
that our traditional values were more sustainable, our traditional values were more indigenous, and now we started mocking them on reels.
Really important.
Instagram, we'll witness reels mocking middle class culture of reusing everything. But like essentially what the West now is doing, like they've pushed us into the culture of materialism, consumerism, but now they're adopting sustainability, which was always in some way
And
Indian,
Is
frugal
habit,
Indian way of
now
life.
they're selling us the same Colgate charcoal back.
Yeah.
They were smart people, yeah.
And you look at the Indian tradition, and Sakshi said grandfather, and for me it's the father. When I was talking about the fact that I said my mother used to go ask an extra bag, and my father used to use that bag for 1 year, almost a year, to carry his tiffin box. So it was not, polythene was used, but the rate it was used was not this high. Today we will just use it and we may forget where it is. But at that time, there was a particular place where that polythene was kept till next day morning when that tiffin was supposed to be packed. और वो वही मिलता था आपको हर रोज.
Right.
So Vivek sir, I just have a simple thing. I mean, like बहुत दिनों से हम लोग देख रहे हैं कि this organic बहुत fashion में आ गया है. So what is this? ये हमारे साथ धोखा रहा है कि सच में कुछ है?
So organic in general, obviously there is a lot of shift driven by this, change in consumer behavior, because now, like we are doing, right, sustainability, like we're discussing sustainability and impacting so many minds. Obviously, it has become something which has spread far and wide, and people are conscious that ultimately it is not only about growth and only about materialism. We finally need to make sure that we are using at a reasonable pace the resources of the earth. And in that context, I think organic is a movement which has, genuinely arisen and taken momentum. So there are a lot of brands which are now focused on organic. A lot of consumers who preferentially buy, organic food, even though it is costlier. But that consumer change is happening. Obviously, it's not happened at a level right now at which it is required. So the more that consumers change, the more awareness that grows. The more brands will be pushed towards, taking up measures which are more in sync with the environment. But definitely that movement is happening in the right direction. Whether it's fast enough, we don't know. I think we still need to pick up a lot more speed on that.
Ranch, your take on that?
I think, sir, to summarize all the previous points, I think to be on the path of sustainability, we need to take conscious steps in the short-term journey, as told by Saloni. And what I think is, while innovating deeply into the frameworks that we have, to be right in the long-term journey that is ahead of us. And I think my next question is to Vivek sir about, what are the barriers or certain challenges that startups or MSME space, that prevent these companies from investing in sustainability initiatives?
Right. So when it comes to startups or MSMEs, at the initial stages of the journey, the priorities are slightly different. So, at the initial stages of the journey, the priority is much more about survival. And also they're very small, organizations. So it's not like they have the kind of technical expertise or knowledge to be able to focus on this as well. Thankfully, there are changes which are happening. So there are a lot of startups which are actually coming up, which help companies become sustainable. Because ultimately, it is not like every company can go and learn all about sustainability and handle it in the right manner. One of my batchmates is in fact running a company which helps other companies become more sustainable. And again, while all companies are driven by the profit motive and by making sure that their shareholders' growth is being assured. Government regulation has a key part to play. So, when you have government regulation, which is incentivizing the right things, which is making sure that startups and MSMEs are being, made to think in the right direction beyond their current survival, that also helps a lot, because otherwise, if the incentives are not aligned, obviously people will think about survival very, very strongly. And lastly, as earlier also you were discussing, consumer, sentiment is a key player. So if the entire market is very, very price conscious, then obviously these startups are going to be focused on serving those price conscious people, which means that they'll not be able to focus that much on sustainability. But as this, mindset is changing, as consumers are becoming more, more upfront about saying that we are okay to pay slightly more, but give us something which is sustainable and which make sure that, we have this in, this planet going through a healthy journey. I think that consumer mindset change will also drive a lot of these startups and MSMEs also starting to focus on sustainability. Today, they're very focused on, initial survival and growth. But, hopefully with these regulations and with this consumer mindset change, we can get there sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's such brilliant insight, Mr. Vivek. I think while startups and businesses are investing and moving towards that process, I think CEOs of ITC or probably other agri businesses are sort of very important to look at this point in time, because those are businesses that actually can pick up on ideas of sustainability, right? So I think directing that question to Mr. Ashu again, how do you think the CSR of agri businesses, like probably an ITC, something a business like a Britannia, how do you think that the CSR policy of those businesses should be directed, and how towards sustainability, and how do we talk about sustainability in those practices?
Yeah, when you talk about the CSR, corporate social responsibility, so it's very clear that it's just not to a greater extent we focus upon that it's just a charitable thing. But apart from that, CSR responsibilities also include that a company, a firm should focus on the environmental responsibilities. And apart from that, they should also look into social and environmentally conscious investments. So it's not just look into fair trade practices, but at the same time, reducing the carbon footprints for the environment. So when you talk about this, and when you talk about the regenerative agriculture, so we clearly know that once we have a healthy ecosystem, then only we have a healthy food lifestyle, and then only we get a healthy community. So this is all a cyclic process. So it's just go in and around. So when you and on the other hand, when you talk about the circular economy, when it is very clear that there should be a responsible consumption. So we know that the wants are unlimited, but the resources are limited. So we have to be a responsible consumer. So we have to make a compromise to it. And then we should also know how to extend the life of a product when it comes to, and then followed by recycling. So just to give an example, like our panelists were talking about, for instance, Jyotsa was talking about the packaging practices. So earlier we used to have this plant-based, which is paper bags. And later on, we have to switch it, because at the end, we are cutting the forest to get these papers. So at the end, then on the other hand, then we talk about the starch bags. So it gives an idea that how we are changing ourselves to a sustainable goal, where we are trying to protect our environment on a one side, and at the end we are also trying to look for the alternatives into it. So like and then it is very important when you talk about the equitable access also, that definitely going to benefit the regenerative outcomes. So it's just we give opportunities to everyone should have the access to all the facilities which is available. And when you talk about the SDGs goals, one of the most important aspect is to look upon the sustainable procurements. So it's not just the producer who is producing. At the end, it is a supplier who is also being responsible for it. For instance, the environmental practices, what the supplier is doing. So is it actually being made according to the norms? And so that it's very important. And also there should be a focus on how these things has to be done. Like for instance, if we talk about just for the reference, we have a recent news about the Earth's pole is moving out and I hope that you people have heard about this. So India is one of the biggest contributor to it. That is what it claims to be. Like we have scarcity of water. So these kinds of things is happening. So when you talk about the, for instance, the water plants, so they are also trying to do some kind of innovations in these industries to make sure that they are focusing on
renewable source of energy. And at the same time, like another one of the examples which our panelist was talking about, the reducing the products which is harmful for the environment. So yeah, it is true actually. So for instance, if we I just want to take one of the example, like for instance, we have mobile phones, like recently Samsung launched S23 Ultra, and at the end, they claim to be having a waste product from the ocean. So these kinds of things is very important for protecting the environment. And at the same time, like another example which I just wanted to give is using of the fertilizers or the chemicals like the endosulfan, which has happened in the Kerala, for instance. So it's again a very big disadvantage that we have to face. And when you talk about the regenerative agriculture, we have another example. Like for instance, I'm not discouraging the use of machineries, but at the same time, it's just giving an example. Like once we start using machines for harvesting and all, so what happens is we are actually eroding the soil, because soil has a lot of microorganisms in it. So what happens is, by using these machineries, we are actually trying to pull off those microorganisms, which is actually helping the plants. So instead, I'm not discouraging, but at the same time, we have to follow the conventional, at the same time, the modern practices, so that it doesn't harm the environment and we protect our planet and the future generations. Because it's not just what we need right now, because we have to provide these facilities to the future generations as well. So that is why
very rightly said, sir, that we need to think about the posterity, the coming generations as well. We can't just be so selfish and thinking about ourselves. Soransh, what do you say on that?
I think clearly this is something out of my expertise, and there was so much to learn from sir. And
sometimes there are questions out of syllabus, so we've got to attempt them. Yeah, it happens. That's what life is.
Exactly. It's similar here in my case, but I would like to pose. I need time to digest the information that Mr. Ashu sir has shared, and I'll definitely. I'm really interested in learning more about it. But my next question is to Amrit sir about recommendations on developing sustainability principles in businesses, and how we can wrap the whole discussion around this with everybody's points. And sir, what are your opinions on the same?
So, Suransh, very important aspect and a very important question to the entire discussion. Since developing sustainable principles in a business, I think is very crucial, and why it is crucial to bring an impact on the environment as well as society, and also look at the long-term profitability for any business domain that we work on today. So I think key prominent features, what I think which are important, is to understand the 3 P's, which is process, product, and the process. How we protecting the environment, what process are we following, and what is the product. Like there was an example which was quoted about the starch bag for the ice cream, understanding the need of the hour. So one has to have a set of clear objectives as to these are the clear objectives that I set for my business domain. And timely, we need to conduct sustainability assessments of what we are doing. When I talk of we need to evaluate our business practices, operations, our supply chain, to identify the areas of improvement that we need to do, so that we have a clear hold of whether things are aligned in a set way, which we set as our clear objective towards sustainability. There are a few more important factors that one can look at. Is we need to engage our stakeholders, which are our entire supply chain, our workers, our partners, our investors. All of them have to have clear engagement of each and every individual toward having that stake of being sustainable. We need to also implement sustainable practices. When I talk of practices, it would be aligning my sustainability objective with the long-term goal. So it would not be that I import a product from China. For example, if I talk of a water bottle, so let's say my production cost is high in India, and I save a lot when I import it. However, if I'm selling 20 lakh units of it, what impact is going to leave on the environment after 10 years or 15 years? So that thing bringing into consideration, I think we really need to have sustainability business strategies which are to be implemented. Also, having continuous improvement is something which is very important. Like here, I would like to quote an example what H&M did. So they give you vouchers if you bring old denims and old clothes, and when you shop along, they give you benefits of that. So I think every business should come up with new creative ideas to engage customers as well, which is the end user of their product. Like very well said that today organizations, their e-commerce business, we say that if you're returning this package, so if you look at the plastic, it says that this is so and so micron plastic and this weights at 15 rupees per kg if you recycle that. So like those of initiatives should be taken up with majorly all the new businesses. They're coming up with creative ideas to have this thing implemented, and that's the only way we see a clear future ahead with sustainability.
Thank you so much, sir. I think these were such brilliant insights again, and wrapping up the entire discussion. Really,
Totally, I agree to you, Shivangi, on these points. Can we have a one-liner statements for as a messages to our young leaders from everyone, all the panelists here, starting from Saloni ma'am? What message you want to pass on to these young learners? Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. As far as my message is concerned, again, it has to do with the fact that sustainability is a difficult choice. We have to become more aware as consumers. A lot was spoken about in terms of businesses making cleaner choices, but a lot of it is also virtue signaling, which we need to identify. At the core of sustainability, there are certain emerging issues like right to repair, which we need to identify and which we need to demand as consumers. And as businesses, we need to, again, realize that the survival of our business is intricately linked to the survival of our consumers and the survival of the world and the environment at large. So that's my...
That's really wonderful, ma'am. Shiv, sir, if you could please.
Sure. So what I would like to put out there is that when we are designing for sustainability, it's very important to understand user psychology, because at the end of the day, if consumers don't behave the way you expect them to, your sustainability developments and processes will never work. So keep
Absolutely.
those things in mind before sustainability processes are designed.
Yeah.
And that's my takeaway from this session.
Yeah, amazing thoughts, sir. Sakshi ma'am.
I would like to say that, sir, being Indians, we have goodness everywhere. Okay, we have one goodness imbibed from our, cultural values. So, converting them into, which can lead to social impact, if not sustainability, having a small genre of sustainability can have a greater impact. And last thing I want to conclude from G2O, which is the logo of this year's, that is one earth, one family, one future. So let's look in those lines.
So looking back is not bad and history is always useful. George, sir, your views?
Two things, and I see a lot of startups and founders here. I know their pain point, and the pain point will end only with the customer if they have to sustainable. The customer needs to look at the product feature which is benefiting them, not the cover which is creating that ego thought in their mind. Ki wow, wo wow feeling honi chahiye product ko leke, not with the kind of package it came in. Second and last thing I would like to mention here is हर बार दिल्ली एनसीआर में वो शोर मचता है कि पंजाब और हरियाणा में उस फार्मर ने वो बट जलाया और प्रदूषण हो गया. ये शोर क्यों नहीं मचता है कि वो जो एग्रीकल्चर लैंड है उसको कमर्शियल कर दिया और वहां बिल्डिंग खड़ी हो गई? वो शोर कभी नहीं मचता है क्योंकि वो एक लॉन्ग रन सस्टेनेबिलिटी प्रॉब्लम है. हम एक शॉर्ट रन के पीछे हमेशा दौड़ते रहते हैं.
Exactly.
जब हम शॉर्ट रन प्रॉब्लम्स के पीछे दौड़ेंगे, वो लॉन्ग रन प्रॉब्लम्स ऑटोमेटिकली सॉल्व हो जाएंगे. Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here and speak. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you here, sir. Siraf, sir, your views?
So I just read somewhere, some time back, it said, it's only one straw, said 8 billion people. It's just one straw. But 8 billion people, if they think that way, it will become 8 billion.
Figures are alarming.
No, the point is that sustainability is infectious, and, it's the good kind of infectious. So as you said, to quote to the youngsters, if they can make sustainability seem good, seem cool in a way, it would help a lot of us to live much longer and on a better planet.
True,
That's it.
absolutely. Yes, Shivangi, we can go for paper straws. Don't make it a little difficult in the end. थोड़ी देर बाद वो खराब हो जाता है.
They can't survive the test of time.
Yeah, that is the point. That's the problem with them. Though that's a nice idea, but they
हो
don't
सकता है
survive.
उसको हम eatable कर दें उसको, पीते रहो और खाते रहो.
That can be there, sir. Okay, so Rushil, sir, your views, sir.
Sir, I would like to say that we should not assume outcomes, that if we use this, it would happen. If we use that, it would happen. We should go out in the market and try it out ourselves.
So खुद इस्तेमाल करो फिर जानो.
Yes, sir.
That's wonderful. I mean, like, we need to try it out. Let's give a chance. Vivek, sir.
Right. So I think everybody in the audience should, sort of take this away that sustainability, it's not a choice, right? And the situation is also dire. Just to, just go out there, make yourself aware about what the state of, climate change is, what the state of our consumption is, how things are changing, so that at least you know what the magnitude of the problem it is. It is not enough to, say, discuss it and, we can't cover everything here, but go back, do your research, figure out as an individual, you need to make sure that you have that right understanding in your mind, you are changing your mindset. And then ultimately, we also need to make sure that we are pushing the government and we are pushing the businesses to bring about these changes, because businesses will not care, by themselves. They are driven by the profit motive. That's how the entire, market is aligned. So we need to make sure that we are pushing them to make these changes, because ultimately it's our survival at stake. And while there is no entity like a business, ultimately it's all people. But then when these concepts come together in an unaligned manner, it's not good for us. So make yourself aware, push the government, and then push businesses. And lastly, since this is a business summit and there are a lot of entrepreneurial folks out there who are listening, a big change can come about when you work on ideas and things which try and bring about this sustainable future. So go out there, think about what you can do in terms of starting a business, or in terms of the change. The big change will come via things that we do with technology, or the things that we do with new companies. So go and found them and go and bring about this change.
Yes, that is really a wonderful message, sir. Ashu, sir.
Yeah, when you talk about sustainability, it is hard actually. So it's not pretty easy. So when I will talk about this businesses and consumers, why don't we talk about like teaching students about this in the early stages rather than going so far? Let's teach students about the sustainability, and let's have a promotion of quality and sustainable schools as well. So that would be our first motto. And I'm pretty much sure once this students will be aware about the sustainability, then I'm pretty much sure that the businesses and the consumer can become aware of what exactly is the sustainability. And talking about this paper straws, for instance, where we can do one thing. There are 3 R's, where reduce, recycle, and reuse. Why not we have a 4 R's, which is refuse? So let's refuse paper straws, and we can pour it in the glass and we can drink it. So why not that? So we can
Some
also.
things are pretty simple, and yet we do not look for them.
Yes, absolutely.
एक और R जो सलोनी ने कहा, and that's the takeaway I take from this session, is right to repair.
Yeah.
Fantastic. कितने लोग जाते हैं आजकल मोची के पास वो चप्पल की स्ट्रिंग बदलने के लिए? हम बचपन में जाते थे 4 बार 5 बार, नीचे वाला फट्टा सेम रहता था, ऊपर कम से कम 4 या 5 बार बदलते थे. It's fantastic. That's what Saloni said is fantastic. Right to repair.
Great thoughts, sir. Amrit, sir.
So, sum up it is, as Sakshi ma'am said, Vasudev Kutumbakam is, one earth, one planet, one us is there. And George sirs, and also he just mentioned right to repair. And the 3 R's is what a big takeaway for me is. And sir, I do that repair thing. I still do. So I'll be one of those, I can say. And again, so the key takeaway for me and what I would suggest to everyone would be, again, reduce, reuse, and recycle. And also one thing that they look at is upcycle. So that's one added thing which can be done.
This entire session, I wish it could have gone on, but then again, it's really delightful to hear all these things which impact and part of our lives. I would say, आज एक चीज जो ऐसी बोली गई, मुझे लग रहा था कुछ मेरी जिंदगी के हिस्से कोई मुझे बता रहा है. It's really amazing to hear all these thoughts, and these exist. Yes, and I'm really happy and elated that a lot of you are working on these things. I mean, like, these problems are being addressed. जो हमको लगता है कि कोई नहीं सोच रहा है, मैं कोई कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. Things are happening. This is really amazing. A lot of times we are the part of the problem. हम पहले solution लेकर आएंगे प्लास्टिक, फिर 50 साल 100 साल उसका यूज करेंगे, फिर बोलेंगे ये खराब है, ये पे प्रॉब्लम है. Next time we get another solution, 50 years down the line, it becomes another problem. So I don't know, is that development, or we are just fooling ourselves? That question still remains, or we are just moving in circles. But then again, it was an amazing session. I really loved it, I would say that. Since time immemorial, humans have engaged in business activities. In fact, business is the air that surrounds us at each and every moment. Whether we are awake or asleep, whether we are eating or working, whether we are resting or having fun, or even traveling, there is some sort of the business involved. Business has been one of the most important threads which has facilitated us to survive till now. If there was no business, then there would have been a fractured survival along with no motivation and zeal to move forward. What would have been the world without no profits or nothing to gain? Would there be livelihood? Would there be work? Would there be any development? Or I should say, would there be any existence at all? Such is the impact of business. I'm sure a lot of these questions were answered during this session, and our young learners could have learned a lot here. We have learned from centuries of experiences. We have had several failures and numerous successes. Today, we can say that businesses need to be sustainable if the world has to move in the right direction. Sustainability is a habit. Sustainability is a culture. Sustainability is a way of life. We can't only look for short-term gains and ignore long-term losses. We can't make the world suffer with our mistakes anymore. We must be prudent and wise, behave responsibly, and act bravely with conscience. To sum it up, we must live and think sustainably for sustainability. With this, everyone, August audience, we come to the end of this panel discussion. It was a joy having you all here. We are overwhelmed with the influx of knowledge, experience, and innovative mindsets. Aabhar aap sabhi ka for being a